is Sue's Book Nook. My name is Sue, and today I'll be bringing you my January wrap-up. I had a good reading month. I read 9 books this month, and one of those was The Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. This is the first in the Peter Grant series. It is an adult supernatural crime series, and I found it really enjoyable. Peter Grant is sort of at the beginning of the book a probationary constable. He's waiting for his assignment, which he assumes is going to be a desk job. And it all sort of changes when he tries to take a witness statement from a ghost. Yes, a ghost. It was a really interesting series, but one thing I found kind of odd was how quickly Peter Grant adapts to this whole new world he uncovers with ghosts and other strange beings, including his fellow probationary constable, Leslie, once she kind of finds out that he can talk to ghosts. It all just seemed to be like, oh, okay. That's fine. But I still found it really interesting, this hidden world beneath the city and the mystery involved in the story. This one does a lot of world building and character introduction, so I'm sure the series will build and get even better as it goes along. But I really enjoyed the writing and enjoyed the characters and the little bit of humor that was interspersed within the story. And overall I gave it 4 stars. I'm looking forward to continuing the series. Another book that I read was one of the Doctor Who series. This is The Doctor Trap by Simon Messingham. It includes the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble. There's this one character, his name is Sebastian, this fellow here. He, not quite completely human, but he considers himself this ruthless hunter, and the biggest game he could bag, you might say, is the Doctor. And he manages to bring him to this particular planet. He brings in these other hunters to kind of make it like a game and hunt him down. They use Donna Noble as sort of the bait to bring him there. In the story, there's also this other character who sort of disguises himself to look very much like the Doctor, even right down to his DNA. I found that all kind of confusing. The other hunters play a very small part in it. Donna Noble plays an extremely small part in it. Didn't really care for the story. I was really rather disappointed in this one, and overall I only gave it 2 stars. Then I read a manga. This is the last in this series called Limit. This is book 6 by Keiko Suenobo. It had a sort of Lord of the Flies feel to it. This bus crashes into a ravine with a bunch of students in it, and only a couple of these girls end up surviving. And it's sort of a clash of personalities and cliques and things like that. You have the very popular girls, the very pretty girls, and the one that seemed to get bullied or left out, and she sort of takes her revenge, you might say, on the others, and they all sort of start turning against each other as they're trapped down there and starting to battle for food. Some other characters kind of come out, are discovered later, but I was okay with the wrap-up and all, but I wasn't really thrilled with the entire series. The artwork is okay and everything. Nothing particularly, pretty good paneling and stuff like that. Some cases the words are quite big. It could be quite brutal at some cases, but overall the story wasn't particularly that enthralling, and I only gave this one 3 stars. I listened to several audiobooks, one of them being Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. This does not feature any particular detective. There's no Miss Marple or Hercule Poirot. It's just a group of people are invited to this island for this party. They're not quite sure. They keep mistaking, I think, their host for somebody else. They think they know who it is, but they just go along to this party, which I thought was kind of crazy. And then it turns out that there may very well be a murderer amongst these 10 people. The book has an alternate title, 10 Little Indians. Apparently there's a poem about how each Indian kind of ends up getting killed, and it mirrors their deaths on this island. And now they're all sort of like looking at each other saying, oh, could this be a murder? Could that one be the murderer? Is there someone on the island they don't know? It was very intriguing, very compelling. I really, really enjoyed it, and I gave that one 5 stars. Not much else you could say with The Queen of Mystery. Just fantastic. Another book that I listened to was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This is an adult psychological thriller. I did a full review on that, so I'll put a link down below. I won't say a whole lot about it here, other than it's told from 3 different perspectives. None of the characters are very likable, but the book was intriguing and the story compelling that it drove me to the entire ending, and I didn't see that particularly coming. It was a bit of a surprise, and I really enjoyed the entire story, and overall I gave it 4 stars. Another manga I read this month was Monster. This is the third volume in the series by Naoki Urasawa. These are bind-ups that contain 2 volumes, so we're now up to volume 6 when I completed this one. It features a doctor who's accused of several murders, but actually he is tracking down a serial killer who as a young boy, he saved this boy's life, and now he feels kind of responsible to try and stop this guy. It's just a really great series. I love the artwork. I love the style. It's a bit different than most typical manga. It doesn't have like big eyes or anything like that. It's a little more contemporary style. It's a really, really great series. I love this guy's work, and I highly recommend it. I give him 5 stars. Another manga I read is volume 7 in the One Piece series, and this is by Ichiro Oda. It features this new character here, who may or may not end up being a new crewmate on Luffy's pirate crew. This one deals a lot with the topic of loyalty on the part of this character for another character who did a very amazing act of kindness for him when he was a small boy. And I just like the stories that it tells and the action scenes and stuff, although sometimes it can be a little bit muddled in the way they're illustrated. It's hard to see kind of quite what's going on. Like, you can kind of see here at the bottom picture. And these little battle scenes, sometimes it's sort of so drawn kind of bizarre because our main character here, Luffy, can stretch. He ate the fruit from the gum gum tree and it affected his body. He can't swim, which is bad for a pirate, but he can stretch enormously, and it kind of helps him fight, and create some kind of funny situations. But I like the overall message of the story and the crews and the various characters and how they really delve into each character's background, so I find that really, really good. And overall, I gave that one 5 stars. Another audiobook I listened to was At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft. Now, this is my first exposure to Lovecraft's work. I've always been wanting to read one of his. He's like the master of horror. And unfortunately, this was a very poor choice on my part, I guess. It tells a tale, well, it's actually told from the perspective of a protagonist who is one of 2 surviving members of an expedition to the Antarctic plateau. The other member kind of came back crazy. I think that's where the title comes from, At the Mountains of Madness. It drove him to madness. He saw something there that he refuses to tell our protagonist, and thus we don't know exactly what it is. But in terms of the book, the protagonist is writing it for others as like a warning. Don't go here, it's dangerous. And yet, he tells us very little of what they saw or, of the events, you might say. We know that pretty much the rest of the expedition's wiped out, including the dog team that was brought along with them. It's in the description that they uncover, like before the time began, you might say, alien civilization that existed. And as they're trying to track down one of the missing members of the team, these 2 come across sort of evidence of the civilization. They see paintings on the wall and some, living quarters and things like that. And then the author just goes into unbelievable detail of the things they see in terms of what type of civilization they led, how they did their daily lives. To such minute detail, you're thinking, how can you discern that in just the moment you're passing through looking for your team member and you see like something on the wall or a drawing or something like that? There's no way they would get that much information in the amount of time that they were there to impart that to the reader. The descriptions were just so dragged out. It's like a majority of the book. You keep saying, okay, well, get back to this other mystery. What are these things? What attacked the crew? Where's this other member? It had such potential, and then it said, no, we're going to go here and talk about this. We're not going to talk about this other part, and what destroyed them or what creatures we saw or any of that stuff. It's like, let's talk about this painting, and they had family units and they did this or whatever. I don't care. It was just so drawn out and so disappointing. I couldn't literally wait to finish it. And overall, I just gave it 2 stars. I guess for the potential background of it, but it's like you want to warn people as a protagonist not to go there, but then you don't really tell anybody anything. I didn't get the point of it, so very disappointing. I don't know that I'll try and pick up another Lovecraft maybe somewhere along the way, but it may be a while. So the last book I read was this particular one, The Ghost Hunters by Neil Spring. Again, I did a full review on this one, and I'll put a link to below. So I won't go into a lot of detail other than to say it is kind of a ghost story based on historical fact. This is based on the Borley Rectory, which describes it as the most haunted house in England, and it deals with the characters that were there, that researched it, the investigators and things. But then it also brings in a fictional element to it, which I like. I like when they do that. You have real people with fictional characters, and it starts out kind of slow. It takes quite a ways till you even reach Borley Rectory, but it shows how our fictional characters sort of meet the real characters, and it builds on their backgrounds and stuff. And then when you hit Borley Rectory and all the way to the end, stick with it. If you find it kind of boring in the beginning, stick with it because it does get really good towards the very end of the book. But I really enjoyed it overall, and it made me want to read more about Borley Rectory, so I actually have a nonfiction book I am in the middle of reading, and it's pretty interesting. So overall, I gave this one 4 stars. Had, like I said, a really good reading month. If you have read any of these and you'd like to discuss them in the comments, please do, and I will see you in my February wrap-up, which I have to go film right now too. So thanks for watching, and happy reading.